On this episode of Property Journal, I'm talking to Michaela Wain. Michaela was a finalist in the BBC TV show The Apprentice, successfully making it to the last 3 in series 13. Michaela is a well-known entrepreneur and formidable name in the property construction industry, running a number of businesses including the UK's leading construction magazine, Design and Build UK. Michaela is on a mission to create equality and more opportunity for women in construction, which has for far too long been a male-dominated environment. She's also been refreshingly open and honest about her struggles with mental health throughout her life, and I'm keen to hear her thoughts on what can be done to help the construction sector, which has a shocking stats in mental health. As a mum of 2, juggling family and her numerous work and charity interests, I want to know how Michaela is making so much happen without cloning herself. I'm really looking forward to my conversation with Michaela. Michaela, welcome. Tell me, who is Michaela Wain?
A legend. An absolute northern legend.
We already knew that. Tell us something we didn't know.
Who is Michaela Wain? I'm a woman in construction. I guess that's basically what I'm going by now. I'm a mother and a very, very proud northerner.
Yeah.
There's the summary.
They're all key things. I want to know where the women in construction started from, because as you know, that's not normal. The whole industry traditionally is just male dominated. So where was the inspiration for this?
I think, well, growing up, I'm from a family. I've got 4 brothers. My parents separated. My stepdad's amazing. My dad's brilliant, and we're all very much in touch and close. But my dad's an engineer. My stepdad's a joiner by trade. My mum's an estate agent. All my brothers have different industry trades, so I've just been in and around it
consumed by
since.
it,
yeah. And I was just one of the boys growing up. You know, I used to play in the boys' football team. I've got 2 older brothers who I'm closest in age with, so we was really dragged up in quite a, well, not quite, in like the poorest part of Bolton, you know, so it was all very, I guess I was a tomboy growing up, and I was exposed to the industry. My parents used to buy houses, get us all in to like knock off the plaster, redo the houses,
so cool.
You know, rent them out and sell them on. So it was never foreign to me that women was in construction.
No.
In fact, I didn't even know it was a thing really until later on in life when people started saying, oh, you're in construction. It was only other people telling me that I was in construction that made me realise, oh, actually, yeah, this is quite unusual.
And what route into construction? Because you've got all those family members and friends that are involved. What was your route into ultimately construction?
I guess not a typical route, but to be honest with all of the women I speak to, and really a lot of men as well, I don't think anybody is little and thinks, oh, I really want to be a plumber, or I really, you know, want to be in construction, be a labourer. So my route was, I left school, I went to study religion and special needs actually at university. I wanted to be a counsellor / RE teacher because my old RE teacher had impacted my life, and I wanted to try and help girls. I guess this has always been a thing, help other girls, and so I thought, right, that's the way to do it, that's the way to help me. But whilst taking a year out from university, I went to live with my dad, who after about 6 months of me basically being an alcoholic said, you better get a job or I'm going to kick you out. I was like, oh my God. So I just handed my CV everywhere around Bolton. The only 2 places to offer me a job was Greg's Pasty Shop. I don't know if you've seen them blue hairnets, but as a 19-year-old girl, I was like, no. And a construction magazine. So obviously I was familiar with the industry, different parts of the industry. I didn't know everything, but I knew quite a bit. So I felt confident in accepting this job, selling advertising in a construction magazine. I did that for a few years and basically hit a glass ceiling. So in the end, I was 25. I just had a son who was 5 months old, and I thought, well, if you're not going to promote me, I'll just promote myself, and started my own business.
And that was the start of the entrepreneurial.
That was the start.
Because you're still in the marketing side of construction now, right? With your own magazine and all the social media side of things.
Yeah, that's right. So we started Design and Build UK when I was 25, so 14 years ago. Sure. And then off the back of that, I've invested in a couple of companies, started a few myself as well. Some worked, some didn't. And then during the pandemic, we pivoted slightly because pandemic. Awesome. Now we have the agency as well.
You just literally brushed over 4 or 5 businesses. I mean, business is hard, right? Especially entrepreneurial side of things. Have you had anything that's not gone right, big bump in the road or a failure that you've ultimately learnt from?
Yeah, actually, well, it's not been announced yet, but the business that I went on The Apprentice with. So I was already doing relatively well. I had 2 successful businesses, I guess, when I went into The Apprentice. We was doing about 4 million a year turnover between the 2 of them. And then I didn't get the investment from Lord Sugar, but afterwards somebody else did offer me the investment, which ultimately I agreed to. We launched the business. I was in labour whilst having my launch party, which was an experience in itself. And then I had my second son. We launched the business, and we just got ourselves to break even about 18 months in. It was a tech company, about 18 months in, and then the pandemic hit, and it was subscription based, and basically I think 85% of our subscribers pulled out. So it would have meant starting from almost zero again after the pandemic.
So something outside of your control.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to blame the pandemic because, but at the time, this business wasn't paying my bills. The ones that was paying my bills was the 2 original companies, and I had to double down on those because, I knew at some point this is going to come back around, so I had to focus on maintaining those businesses, and unfortunately my attention went from that one, and we've decided just recently that, it's time to wrap that up.
Yeah, no, I get that. The Apprentice is interesting because it's a grueling process to get through to 20 contestants. I mean, I think something like 75,000 people can apply and so on. And what was that process like?
Yeah, it was honestly wild. So I applied to The Apprentice really because 2 reasons. My brother had been on Love Island and he had an absolute whale of a time. And we was brought up to be like, just live your life, have fun, live with no regrets. My mum's never been, earn loads of money. It was make sure you have enough money to get by, live a really happy life. So I'd seen him doing this and I'm like, I can't go on Love Island because I don't have his body. So, and nobody wants to see me in a bikini. So I'll go for The Apprentice. And I'd really suffered at the time bad with social anxiety, like crippling, to the point, one point in my life, I didn't leave my house for 6 months. It was like excruciating. So I thought I'd go through waves. I was better after I'd had my first son. I'd go through waves a bit. And I just thought, well, if I go on The Apprentice and I get through this awful interview process, then I can get onto telly and meet Lord Sugar. Surely after that, I'm going to be cured. I've been like forever seeking a cure to this.
Talk about throwing yourself in.
Well,
therapy.
They say like challenge yourself, do the things you don't want to do, put yourself out of your comfort zone. Totally. So I was like, this could be fun. I mean, it could be an absolute disaster, but I was like focusing on this may be fun, get through, and I just tried to get through each stage and basically not die. So
on The Apprentice, you came third, you got so close, but ultimately you achieved what you set out to do, which is you got your business funded and you got cracking. How did that whole thing feel at the time?
Actually, John, I came second because there was joint winners that year. So
I love it. I thought I got my facts wrong. I
like to say I come second. Yeah, do you know what? I was relieved. I was actually relieved when he fired me. We was all in the final. I was like, oh God, I don't know if I want Lord Sugar to be my business partner, and not because he is absolutely amazing and what a privilege it would have been, just because of the additional layer of pressure having a billionaire be your business partner. You're in business, you know what it's like. You put enough pressure on yourself. So imagine of just having like the team of Amstrad breathing down your neck. I was like a bit worried. Oh my God, I'm going to win this and I don't know what to do. It was never in my vision that I was going to win The Apprentice. It was always, I told everybody, imagine if I could get to do 4 weeks on telly. So every step beyond the 4th week of The Apprentice was a real achievement. So I think when it happened, it was a bit of, obviously I'm competitive, so I was a bit gutted, but it was generally more relief than anything. And then I had lots of approaches for investment opportunities, to be honest.
And on the back of that, do you think, or my point being the exposure you got and the fact that the profile had been increasing and so on, is that where the investment ultimately came from because of that?
Yeah. So people had heard my
platform.
business plan, on The Apprentice, and they were saying, oh, I'd invest in you. I loved X, Y, and Z. You just had people who were wafflers and want to know if it takes 20 minutes to get ready in the morning, and then you had people who wanted to invest. So I had lots of meetings after it, and then picked what at the time felt like the right future business partner. So it was a great opportunity. I wasn't expecting any of what happened. I'm grateful for everything what did happen during that process and how far I got. I'm extremely proud of myself. There was nothing that I didn't feel bad at all.
And probably learned so much from it as well. Learn about yourself, right? Learn because you didn't have the expectation. Whereas there's undoubtedly people that have gone on and think, I'm going to win this, and almost disappointed and surprising themselves that they
really
didn't.
Bad. Like, it does cause mental health issues in itself, to be honest, being on The Apprentice, because of this rise and fall. Like, I knew what was coming. I'd seen my brother be exposed and be on TV. I knew what to expect. I knew, like, ride the crest of the wave for 12 months, absolutely milk it. And it was just all about have a good time and say yes to every opportunity there afterwards and just see what happens. Because I was already doing relatively well, my life did not depend on the results of The Apprentice. No. So my approach to it was completely different to anybody else in that process. Not like all the lives depend on it, but everybody really, really wanted it. And I was a bit more like, this would be great, but I'm just going to enjoy each moment. Yeah. And so for me, I just look back with the fondest of memories. Yeah. It was absolutely brilliant.
Awesome.
And then, I came third, so I didn't die.
That's awesome. You've got Women in Construction Awards. It's something you've founded, and I think that's coming up in September. Tell me the inspiration behind that. What has led to actually wanting to put that all together and draw women into construction?
My main thing is, after being on The Apprentice, you get thousands, and I mean like tens of thousands of messages, emails, inboxes, phone calls, seeing people in the street. And the majority of things was people saying, congratulations, thanks for representing women in construction. This is when I really realised, like, oh, I'm a woman in construction.
Almost like a platform.
I just didn't really realise until this point when everybody kept telling me, like, you're a woman in construction, you're a woman in... I was just in construction up until that point. And I wasn't a female business owner, I was just a business owner. And to be honest, I didn't really like the labelling of it. Now I see the importance. So maybe 12 months after The Apprentice, of people, telling me their stories of being a woman in construction and they had to leave the industry because they hit glass ceilings, the same as I'd experienced, or X, Y, and Z had happened, or just, congratulations, great to see another woman in construction, all the way to really, really awful. Awful isn't the right word for it, but just disgusting stories of women who have been raped at work when they're working in construction, sexually assaulted, and lots of other terrible stories.
So it's not a safe place, basically. It's not set up properly for women in that environment.
I think there's just a lot of testosterone, and women have to accept a lot more when they don't have other female support and a collection of voices to say that this is wrong. So this was 6 years ago, whatever, and I just thought I was offered the opportunity to go on Big Brother, and I thought, I can do this and potentially destroy my career, or double down and use the platform that I've got to try and help women more. And like I say, I wanted to help girls anyway. Growing up, that was the thing what was embedded in me. So it just felt like this was a perfect time for me to try and do something, use this platform, shine a light on the stats of women in construction, and also some of these stories as well, and the reality behind it, the things that people don't talk about, to act as a voice for the women who felt like perhaps their voice wasn't big enough. So it's just grown from there. We started profiling women in the magazine. I started using social media to promote this, and then after the pandemic, we decided to make this an in-person event so we could all get on the razzle dazzle, John.
Sounds awesome. What changes are you seeing, and what changes do you need to implement and see for things that you've obviously heard and seen that are happening to change? Because there's a lot of as you say, testosterone, a lot of stigma attached around the fact that it's a male-dominated world, the construction. How are you going to break through these barriers and make it a place that women want to be in?
It's layers and layers and layers of issues in and around construction. And the issue isn't just within construction, it's societal perceptions of construction. Sure. So people will say to their daughters, oh, you're not going working in construction, that's a man's job. And not understanding the different career opportunities within construction. It isn't just about being a labourer or a plasterer or a joiner. It's not just about being on the tools. You can be a quantity surveyor, a project manager, an architect, a finance director. There's all different things.
Just making awareness of that, making sure that you can do.
And really, teachers understanding this is also a role for girls as well. Like talk to the girls about it, and explaining the money that is available in construction, because typical female roles earn about 25% of what typical male roles do. So a plumber, for instance, would earn 4 times more than what a nail technician would. So we need to talk about that, because a lot of the time, especially when we're looking at people from underprivileged backgrounds, then they end up in these typical male-female roles. And again, typically, I'm not saying always, but typically, if 2 people have a child, the woman is left to be the main caregiver of this child as well. So she's earning a quarter of the salary and also bringing up children. So we have to say there are opportunities over here, and there's very similar skill sets. There's transferable skills. It doesn't matter what industry you were from. There's so many different roles within construction that you will be able to use them skills and transfer it over. For instance, if you're a single mum, you will be a good project manager, I can tell you, because it's basically like looking after children. Use the skills you've got, and so there's a big educational piece around construction, but within construction we have to talk about the issues, that mental health issues that are in construction, how women can help that, how having women on the site can help with I guess diluting the banter that takes place.
Because it's an artificial environment in context of real life. It's so heavily male dominated, which often means that men aren't the best at talking to each other about anything they might be suffering from, whether it's their marriage, their anxiety, depression, whatever it might be. If there's no women there to soften it and to actually be relatable, that's not a good environment, surely.
To notice, women notice subtleties, and I fight for equality, so you always want to say, we are equal, but we're also very different, and we're bred different, so women will notice subtleties, and we are brought up like this as well, to notice subtle differences in people. That's how we're taught from being children, like you do this and you do that, and boys can kind of go on oblivious to these things. Women are taught to talk. Men aren't really, little boys aren't taught to have these kind of conversations. So it's important to have women there to notice these subtle changes in people and ask the question. Women will say, like, is everything all right? It's not an opener, because men will just go, yeah, I'm fine, and then a woman will say, no, you're not, and then continue, whereas men don't really press. So I think it's important to help with what the industry is suffering from, the highest suicide rates, the highest mental health illness.
Stats are terrible, aren't they?
The highest divorce rates. It isn't great, and I think by having more women on the site and in construction is going to help with that.
Yeah, I think the thing that I've always found fascinating is I'm obviously involved in a lot of developments myself and dealing with construction, and the red tape and the legislation that's now in place for everything from checking off scaffolding to machines is obscene. It's nuts. And yet no one's checking the operator. No one's checking Bob, who's running this machine, and just checking whether he's all right today and, how's he feeling. There's no mechanism for that. And these guys are
I'm
really...
constantly saying this, like everybody, there's so many hoops to jump through in construction, yet there is not one thing for EDI, and not just mental illness, like just for EDI as a whole, like there's nothing for the people, and ultimately it's the people who are building the houses, and it's the people who are planning this, and nobody is looking at this and saying, right, okay, well, we only have 14% of women here. What can women bring to this? When they started bringing in female architects and actually allowing them to plan out houses properly, then that's when we got open plan kitchens, because women was like, I don't want to be stuck in a kitchen where I can't see my children. And these small changes, you need them to reflect real life. That's why you need a diverse team, the diversity of thought, and this is what I champion within construction, and the success stories. And another thing, for instance, which annoys me, that the fact that it's still not changed, and a lot of people know this stat, is car seat belts and the safety dummies, what they test was tested on men.
Dummies,
and they designed these for an average height of, I want to say 5'10", it might be 5'8", something along those lines. So every single car still now, to this day, is designed for a male's figure. We have different hips, we're not as tall, and still to this day, if you have a car crash, your wife and your children are more likely to die in that crash than you, because when they designed seatbelts, it was a room full of men, and they did not consider the fact that women have breasts and hips and were smaller. And they all know this, all car manufacturers know this, and women fight for it, and they still refuse to change it.
It's not good listening to
So
that.
no, it's not. And you can be driving a car, and every time your family is more at risk. I don't think any man on the planet would want that.
No.
Yet these huge car manufacturers don't change it. And this is why it's important, again, in construction, to have women there and or any underrepresented demographic, to be fair, to change this conversation and put in different points of view.
Gosh, yeah, no, that doesn't sound good at all. What would you say is your greatest strength?
Is being Northern strength? I can drink wine really fast. I don't know. I guess no. I think it's to consistently remain positive, resilience, to see the good in all situations, even when the world is absolutely burning around you.
Yeah.
I will manage to find some positive to take from that.
And what about your biggest weakness?
I'm too positive, so I think everything's going to go well. And it doesn't. I don't think I can do everything.
Yeah.
I think it is double-sided. I see the best in all situations, and perhaps don't prepare well enough for what may then happen. Yeah. I would say it is genuinely a strength and a weakness.
Yeah, no, I can see
and I take on too much, because I think, I can do this, and then
you're touching on juggling there. You're a mum, you're entrepreneurial in business, you've got the awards. You've got to make some time for yourself as well. How do you go about juggling, and what do you do for yourself? What do you do from a mindset and from a fitness point of view?
The main thing is, it is always a juggle, this balance people discuss. I know it's now, people understand it as a myth. There is no such thing. It is the juggle, and it's just about priorities. My children don't need my full attention 24/7. My business doesn't need it 24/7. If my children need me, I'll be there. If the business needs me, I'll be there. So it's just prioritising where I need to be
and being reactive,
and when I need to be there, basically.
Yeah, sure.
That's the key thing. And then with regards to my own mental health, I have suffered, as I say, with anxiety, social anxiety, and just anxiety in general for years and years. I do get waves of it still, and much better since The Apprentice, but I get waves of it, and I know when it's coming on. I know when I'm not feeling myself, so then I will take time out. I'll go to the gym. I hate going to the gym. Or I'll go for a bike ride or a walk. Or I know I have to start doing something physical, though, because I do understand, as much as I despair at the time, I know I'll feel better later on. And I'll spend time with my family. That's what makes me happy. So we'll go for nice meals, we'll go on a holiday, we'll do whatever we're going to do, but I remove myself from whatever the stressful situation is, and just take, if it's 10 minutes or if it's 2 weeks, I'll take that time to myself.
That's good you do that. Because we're filming in the JAAQ, Just Ask a Question, the social media platform. One thing I know with you is you've been really refreshingly open and probably ahead of your time in how you'd suffered from social anxiety and depression. And so what do you think of Jack?
I think it's really important and imperative that people can go and hear and see other people's stories, and not just have to sift through rafts and rafts of books and Google pages.
Boring text.
Yeah, and as well, I'm dyslexic as well. So when I first started to acknowledge that I had issues with panic attacks and anxiety when I was about 16, and at that time, so we're talking, oh my God, forever ago. It's like 23 years ago. There really wasn't anything, a few self-help books, and it was all very like, oh, not man up, but whatever they say to women in those days, there's nothing wrong with you, you're being emotional, you're too soft, like grow up, all these things. When actually there was something very serious going on, and I did really need help, and I did not get it. It was all, I just did help myself. Yeah. So I think having something where people can go to it, especially younger people as well, who might not be able to communicate, like, why do I feel like this? What is wrong with me? At the time, I was like, what is wrong with me? Why am I like this? Nobody's like me. So to be able to
I think loads of people have felt that.
Yeah, and to just do a simple search and somebody say, this is what I experienced, I think is really, really crucial, not just important. Yeah.
Oh, it's been awesome talking to you. You're so open. There's so much to learn there. Thank you so much, Michaela. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Cheers.